So then we move on the business immigration side of things. So now let's talk about business immigration, including the L1A and EB1C and E2 visa. Nick, what is the path? Why this path gaining attention these days?
I think that they get attention because people think they're an alternative to EB5 that perhaps may be less expensive. And I don't think that's really the case. L1As and EB1Cs are very good visa categories that are meant for companies who are transferring executives or managers from an entity that they have in, say, Vietnam to another entity in the United States. Historically, USCIS has really looked at these in the context of like very large companies, relatively large companies. So it's usually very difficult for small companies to qualify for an L. We like to see managers who are managing other managers. We like to see a very complete hierarchy. And USCIS really scrutinizes these petitions very closely. So the RFE rate on Ls and EB1Cs is very, very high. Many of them do get denied because USCIS just doesn't feel that they meet the criteria. So it can be a good strategy for the right company, but in many instances, people really need to understand what the criteria are before they begin investing a lot of money in, say, a U.S. subsidiary, only to have that ultimately fail. That's another part of the L and the EB1C that I think people don't appreciate as much, is that you are really combining the business risk with your immigration risk. Right? So if the business doesn't succeed, the immigration won't succeed. So I don't think people should approach L1 and EB1C as just an immigration strategy. If it works as a business strategy, it can work as an immigration strategy, but it shouldn't be vice versa.
I got it. So what about E2 visa? It used to be a very popular option, right?
It did for some. It is the E2 is a treaty trader visa, which means there has to be a treaty in place with the country, and there is not a treaty in place with Vietnam. So it requires acquiring citizenship in a third country, like Malta or Grenada. There are some complications even now with doing that. There's a certain residency requirement now before one can even file for an E2. So it's a potential strategy for some dual national Vietnamese, but it is so that can work for them. The thing is, though, that people have to understand E2 is not an immigrant pathway. You're only getting a non-immigrant visa with an E2, and there's no automatic way of turning an E2 visa into a green card. I have clients who have been in E2 status for over 20 years, and they reach a certain point where they don't have an option to get a green card, even though they've been in the United States for so long. So it can be a good visa for certain people, but it's not really a pathway to a green card.